Good morning, everybody. We were hoping that you guys would talk shit or something.
I was hoping you would hear me fart earlier on mute.
Yeah, Erin just busted ass. Damn. How's everybody doing today, team?
Hey.
How's everybody doing today?
Good morning, Kyle. Good morning.
Why are you guys so quiet? I'm asking you, how are you guys doing?
It's my birthday.
Whose birthday it is?
No.
Molly, happy birthday! Everybody!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, dear Molly! Happy birthday to you! Wow, Sarah's even celebrating with a birthday hat. Okay, somebody's got their
We're hearing a whole song.
Hold on. There we go. Good morning, Sarah Novick, Shredded Novick.
Good morning.
How's everybody? How are you doing today?
Good, good.
So yesterday was your sister's birthday.
Yes, we were celebrating yesterday. Do you see the decorations behind me? Yeah.
Oh, are you in her house or?
This is my house.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're celebrating in your house.
Yes, yes.
Got it. Awesome.
She lives, yeah, she comes here.
I love it. Well, today's gonna be amazing. I love having conversations with people from our community, like yourself. We're gonna get down and dirty. But before that, just like I ask every guest who comes to our show, do you drink coffee? And if so, what kind of coffee are you drinking?
I don't drink coffee. I'm like really sensitive to caffeine, so I don't. And I did tell myself, like, I'll have some kombucha this morning, but I couldn't do it.
Yep. Hey, it's all good. Kirsty, did you have your cup of coffee today yet, girl? No? Who in here drinks coffee? Drop a comment. Molly, you drink coffee.
I know Ann does.
Ann.
Yeah,
Ann. Fabian.
Fabian. Yeah.
Ann Fabian, show your face. Are you new to our community? Like we throw you to the water immediately. Show your face. You can't help
Hi,
it.
Sarah.
Hi, hello.
I drink coffee. I have my coffee already.
Okay, yeah.
Miss you, Sarah.
I miss you too.
Sarah's my calculus friend.
Yeah.
Oh, I
We're
love
nerds
it. So
together.
Sarah, it turns out you're a nerd, huh?
Yeah, super nerd. Yeah.
Well, of course.
No,
That's
we
why
are smart, intelligent women. We are
Yes.
not nerds.
Hell yeah. Okay, who in here likes coffee? Lauren is on team no coffee. Okay. Boo. Hold on. People are trying to get in. Wait. Let me catch up. Janice, you like coffee. Kayla, you like coffee. Tiffany likes coffee. Amanda loves calculus. You guys, you want to hear a fun fact? So when I went to college, I went as a math major. Calc 1, I got exempt from. I didn't even have to do it. Calc 2, I crushed. I went to Calc 3 and I'm like, nothing makes sense anymore. And I was like, fuck this shit. I went to bio. So it turns out that a lot of us are kind of on the nerdy side, huh? Who would consider themselves a nerd? Drop a comment. Molly, Nakaya, Katie, Crystal. Crystal, no way you're a nerd, dude. Really?
Yeah, I'm a total book nerd.
Yeah?
Yep.
By the way, my inner circle people, I missed not talking to you for 24 hours, but I will be back in full action today. Okay, more people are asking to join in, Sarah. This is going to be a very popular conversation. But are you ready to get this party started?
Yes.
Are you guys ready to get this party started? Awesome. So give me just 1 second. I'm going to get set up. In the meantime, drop a comment and tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for this conversation? 10 means very excited. If you're a calc nerd, then you can drop some kind of like calculus
There we go.
symbol. I don't even know what to call them anymore. Use it or lose it.
Yeah.
1 second. I'm just going to get set up.
Crystal was a calc tutor.
No kidding, dude.
Yeah.
Stop.
Awesome.
Wow, I learn something new about you guys every day.
Were you like a peer tutor? Or did they pay you money?
They did not pay me money. Basically, the teacher would not hire a sub if he was out sick. He would just say, pull Crystal from class and she can run the class all day.
No kidding.
Whoa.
That kind of nerd?
Whoa.
Wow. That's a whole other level of nerd.
Great.
Before we get started, Jessica Knox, I see that you have a mask on and you're laying down, and I can only help but to assume that you got infected with the Rona. No, you're good. Okay, fine.
No, I'm in physical therapy. I'm getting traction right now.
Oh, got it.
I
Okay,
did
well,
this
good.
for a long
Good. Okay, well, happy to hear that all is good.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us from PT.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, team, I'm all set up. So let's get this party started. Is everybody muted other than Sarah? Yes. Okay, good. Awesome. Anybody else who will be joining us will join us when they do. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Today, I have with me a close friend and teammate. We crossed paths about a year ago when I was doing one of my many 30-day challenges. Some of you guys may be familiar with them. But from back then, I could see how serious and committed she was with regards to her goals. And, since then, I've had the pleasure of coaching her and really seeing what she is capable of achieving when giving the right tools. She transformed herself from the inside out. And then, due to her immense level of dedication, in her journey and her passion for helping others, Sarah is now on the coaching team for Team Erin and Sarit. She's a badass, a proud mother of two. Turns out she's also an incredible rower. We found out last week. A serious cake lover. I'm sure you had some cake yesterday for your sister's birthday. And one of the coaches for the Inner Circle program. Sarah Novick, aka Shredded Novick. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a question that I normally ask all of my guests, right? I mean, when somebody looks at a photo of you now, they're like, wow, Shredded Novick, she's shredded, like it's been super easy for her. However, we know that the journey hasn't always been that way for you. Mm-hmm. So how long ago did you actually get on the journey? Like, how long has been your journey? When did you start? Or when did you, at what point in your life you're like, man, something has to change?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the journey I'm on now, which is my final journey, I've struggled obviously with weight and body composition my whole life, but started about a little over 3 years ago. And it was started because it started when I was going through a time of major loss in my life. I lost my mother to uterine cancer, which was the same form of cancer that my grandmother passed away from. And at the time when I lost my mom, I lost her very quickly. And she was not 70 years old yet, and I was 35. So I remember thinking to myself, oh my goodness, that's half my life. Half my life from now, that could be my same fate. And that was the moment, that was in April of 2017. And that kind of was the trigger of okay, Sarah, you need to start focusing on the right things. And that was 3 years ago. So leading up to that, growing up, I was never a child who was overweight. If I would look at pictures of myself through childhood and through high school, you would think I was a normal kid, because I work with, my body was average, but I always had this thought in my head that I was always too fat. So when I lost my mother, and I also had some other things that happened that year that I lost, I had to go through this journey of really identifying my emotions with weight and different things. So I had to dig back into my childhood. So, there was a few things that, two major things that I think I struggled with. And, I think everyone has a struggle, and everyone's struggle is different. I learned that, grief isn't comparative. So, my story, is very different from others, but, everyone's story is different. So, and I also learned that, I was never going to, we'll talk, I guess later you'll ask me about things I tried that were surface level fixes that only really addressed the weight and the size clothing I was wearing. but didn't really like dig down deep. So, through this, becoming more mentally aware, like I had to like dig up kind of older memories. So one of the first memories I have of just being like aware of like what my body looked like was so at a very young age, like I was abused, and I was told that the reason why the abuse was ending was because I was becoming too fat and old enough to remember. So that was something that I think I like pretty early on found a way to like just put it away and not like really think about it, but it still was like very present in my mind. So even though like if you looked at me as like a 9-year-old, and the reason why I get emotional now is I do have like 2 small children who are like the same age. That's why, that's why, I already was like predispositioned to have these like thoughts that were not very positive. Now, I live on the East Coast. If anyone here is on the East Coast, like a storm came through like a week ago. And I actually was like interested. I lived not far from my childhood home, and I drove by my house just interested to see there was a huge tree in the back, and I was thinking, I wonder if it's still standing. And and as I was driving away, I thought to myself, how lucky was I to have grown up there? So even though these things have happened that I'm going to describe, I still feel like, like there's still a lot of gratitude for, where I came from. So growing up, I grew up, I had a younger brother and an older sister, and so there's 3 kids in the family, typical, like, Jewish family. I had like, both parents, were together, my dad worked, my mom stayed home with us, but my mother, she never really like fully accepted her body, and she lived in a body that it didn't really matter that she was overweight, but because she was overweight, for most of the time, for her whole life that I knew her. But she never like loved herself, and she always had really bad language when it came to talking about her body. Like when we would go to the pool for the summer, she would say, she was never proud of the bathing suit she would put on. She was never very proud of like the clothing she would wear. She was never proud of like the way her hair looked. To the point where, I remember our last Thanksgiving together where she was well, she read this beautiful poem, and she read this beautiful poem, and then like a lot of times in the Jewish faith, you'll say next year in Jerusalem, but she didn't say that. She said, next year, maybe I won't be fat. And that was her last Thanksgiving where she was well. So, and this is a woman who, like when she passed away, there was like hundreds of people at her funeral, there are trees like planted in her honor. There are benches in her honor. There are plaques on the wall with her name on it. But she never left herself. And, that's about her. And I really had to like dissect how that affected me, because all through my growing up, I never like had that model for me of like, how does a strong female look? How does a mother, act? And, so it was easy for me to kind of like fall into this pattern of just accepting that this is where I was, and like accepting like, okay, like, I'm in like this environment that maybe is fulfilling. I'm like a mom now, like I'm going to put my kids first. They're going to be like my number one focus, and like everything else just kind of like fell away. So when I think about myself as like being 210 pounds, like, yes, I could think about, or being like so overweight. Like I can think about the things that are, like uncomfortable. Like it's uncomfortable to like go to a store and not fit in any of the dresses you want to wear, or like, like things like that. Or it's uncomfortable to, just being like a different size. But like, I think more of the environment that I was in. So you were asking about my journey. My journey really was started like with my mom passing away and like realizing like, well, this is the time to make some changes. And I know you had someone on your show like not long ago, and they said, they said, well, it ends with me. And that's how I think of it. Like when I look at my kids and I see them like watching me, like I know that like they're getting like the best role model possible. Like I know that, you know, and I know that I don't have to worry about these things with them. Like I don't have to worry about their confidence. I don't have to worry about, you know, them, you know, like having behaviors that I would have, because they're not seeing that from me. And I like, that's all that matters.
I love it.
So,
I love it. Sarah, for one, thank you so much for opening up and for being vulnerable. I myself, I'm learning a lot about you, and I know that like you're opening up a different side of you that you probably haven't opened up in a really long time, maybe if at all. So like much love from all of us with regards to that, because it helps us to understand your story way much more. But you guys, if this is your first time, you know, watching one of these episodes, something that I always do is I recommend that you take some notes, because there's always a lot of powerful nuggets. So I'm just gonna share with you guys some really important things that Sarah struck out with me before we move on to the other questions. But something that was really powerful that Sarah said was, everyone has a struggle, but everyone struggles differently. We all have a struggle, you guys. We all face problems, right? But it's how you handle them that will shape your future, right? We all have pain that we've carried from the past. Also, our past experiences shape our current expectations. But our past experiences do not have to define your destiny. For most people, it does, because we are creatures of habit. So we expect the same thing to happen to us. However, if you're in this group, you know that you came to this group for a reason, to break that cycle of those poor expectations, right? You know that you deserve more, or that you're worthy of more. Also, who is a parent in the house? I'd love it if you can drop a comment. But you know, something that was super powerful that Sarah said is, you know, you've watched your mom your entire life not fully accepting herself, because she did not accept her body, and because of that she never really loved herself. So you guys, taking care of yourself, it's your obligation. Loving yourself is an obligation, especially if you're a parent, because I'm not a parent myself, but you can hear that from Sarah, like that magnifies. Okay, if you're a parent, whether you like it or not, those little kids are like sponges, and they look up to you, and what they see you do, they end up doing as well. And you know, the pain that you carry is probably pain that they're going to end up carrying as well. The way in which you treat yourself is probably the expectation that they will have with regards to how they should treat themselves and their body. Because remember, like we said before, your experiences shape your expectations. So Sarah, I mean, I know that you're an incredible mom, but that is super powerful. And you know, right now it sounds as if, you know, from your mom's journey, right, and her struggle and what it ended up happening to her, that kind of like, you know, switch the like the script in your head, and like brought you this aha moment where you're like, wow, like if I don't take care of myself 30 years from now, this is gonna be me. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay, amazing. So okay, now we know, leading up to that moment, this is what happened. And you know, from the moment that you actually, you know, became aware that something has to change, what did you start doing?
So it took me like a long time. That was in April. It took me until August to get myself together. And I responded to, there was like a Facebook ad I saw, and actually on the website, they had a video probably similar to this one, where there was a woman who was a mom. Actually, her 2-year-old daughter was like running around the gym, and I went in and I met a CrossFit gym owner, and I signed up. And at that point, the money didn't even matter. Like, he talked to me and like said, well, you know, asked me about my goals. I mean, keep in mind that picture you saw in the promo for this video, that was the day that I went into the gym. Like, that was the same day. That's what I looked like. You know what I mean? Like, I was like not a small person. And, you know, he was very kind with me. And, you know, at that point, I was just like so fed up that the money didn't matter, because I had gotten to that point where it's like, I knew I needed to do something. You know, it could have been $200, it could have been $1,000, it didn't matter. So that's what I started doing. During that same period of time, I actually like came home from that meeting, like, you can't even make this up. And like, my marriage was pretty much over. Like, at that point, when I came over from my, like, found out that my marriage was going to be ending. And my father was also, he had terminal cancer also. So like, he passed away a couple months later, and I kind of switched in my mind from like making my kids be, and like the role I had with them, because I think when you're a mom, you hide behind that role. Like, you hide behind like, well, I'm taking care of my kids, I'm busy because I'm doing this. And I switched it to, I'm going to start like taking care of myself. And I did that by like just working out. You know, I told myself, like, I was in a like extremely dark place, you know, and I joined a gym. So that gave me like a schedule. I mean, I would go and work out like first thing in the morning. I mean, it was like pulling teeth to get me out of the bed, because I was just in such like a low place. Like, I remember it was like all I could do was like put on a pair of sneakers and like drive to the gym and get there and work out. I did start like reaching out, like, you know, I had a girlfriend who I would talk to like every morning, and like, probably if I didn't talk to her on the phone every morning, I don't think I like would have made it to work, you know, because I was just in like a low place. And when I think about my journey now, and I think of like where I am, I get a little emotional when I think about like the community that I like decided to start creating around myself, because that's the only reason why I know I'm so strong. You know, that's then when I don't mean physically, I mean like I'm mentally strong and able to like, I know I'm going to be fine no matter what happens. Because before that, I limited my community to like, you know, my children and their father. And like, we had other, you know, friends that, you know, acquaintances through that. But I really like, that was my focus. I like focused on having like this perfect ideal life. And then it was like, all of that was like taken away, you know? And yeah, so that's like, I just have like so much joy when I think about, I mean, I get emotional. I think about the community I've created around myself. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
My phone's ringing. That's my dentist.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm not Team Apple, so stuff like this happens sometimes. All right,
That's okay.
there you go. I'm good.
Oh, okay. So that was, you're good. You're done with your answer?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you guys, a couple more nuggets from this. For one, in order for your life and for your body to change for the better, you have to make yourself a priority. It doesn't matter how many roles you play. You have to commit to making yourself a priority. And especially if you are, wherever you are in your journey, but especially if you are like at the beginning. And when I say at the beginning, like, I mean, before having made a commitment to join something that's bigger than yourself, that, you know, involves a community and a schedule, right? Like, you have to put yourself out there and commit to something that's going to get you into a routine. Because remember, like, we're all creatures of habit, right? And unless you have people who are watching you and who are holding you accountable, because you have so many things going on, it's really easy to just like, you know, go back to your old ways. Do you agree?
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this was the catalyst for me when I was finally on the uprise after like 10 years of just like trying and failing, right? Like I haven't fully committed because I didn't have anybody holding me accountable with a set schedule, right?
Yeah.
So having a set schedule is super important. Okay, so I mean, right now, like your body's total goals, right? And when somebody sees a transformation photo, they only see the byproduct. They don't see everything that leads up to it. So let's talk about the most important transformation, which is the internal transformation, right? And how the internal transformation that you had within the journey led you to what we're now able to see on the outside.
So I think I know prior to starting this journey where I was becoming, I say becoming because I don't think you're ever really there yet, but just like very in tune with my emotions when it comes to eating. I did a lot of like quick type fixes that were really like kind of gross and just gross. So when you ask me about like what was the most important thing, it's just getting in tune with my emotions when I'm eating and why I'm eating, I've learned through my family history that there's like a family history of like people being in like Overeaters Anonymous, and stuff like that. And, I've learned that I have to like talk about, my like my eating with people, like it's not a secret. There has been like a point where I've had to surrender or like trust the process. I came from like a very like the things I've tried before were very like all or nothing and uncomfortable. I mean, they were just like uncomfortable type of things I would do. And, I've kind of just had to be like, all right, well, I'm just going to like focus on one small thing at a time. And, that was hard for me. I think that when I talk to like a lot of women, you can list a couple things that you want to change and then you try to change them all at once and it doesn't work that way. So, yeah.
Ooh. You guys, getting in tune with your emotions and why you're eating. Right? Like something that a lot of people in the outside industry call me crazy for, which I quite frankly, I don't give a crap about is, like there's calories, there's macros, you have to count. I'm like, no, you don't have to count. When you are in alignment with your body and you listen to it and it listens to you, calories don't matter. Like your body becomes a certain way because you are in tune with your emotions and why you're eating. If you have an extra, like half an extra sweet potato, your body is not going to poof up. But normally when you're out of touch with your emotions, you sabotage yourself on a normal basis. And it's not with sweet potatoes. Nobody binges on sweet potatoes. We binge on ice cream, cake, cookies, whatever, right? Whatever gets delivered to our system the fastest, right? And makes us crash the fastest. So,
I mean,
go ahead.
One thing like I had to address is that, I was eating to like fill like an emotional void sometimes or to fill something up in me. Like I feel a certain way, so I'm just going to eat, because when you eat, that sends a signal, like it can change your emotional state in a temporary way.
What you just said was profound. And I'm pretty sure that we're all in this room for this exact same reason. And comment no if you disagree, but if you agree with me, please give me a hell yes, that we eat in order to fill an emotional void, right? Nobody's in this room, right? Like if you're in alignment with your body, right? And like your body's total goals right now, it's because you're becoming, and you've become for a very long time, right? Like, I don't say that I mastered my body, because I learned, like you said, like, you know, you're never really there, right? Like the pot of gold always keeps moving forward. But, you know, when you struggle, right, it's because you're out of touch and you're eating to fill an emotional void. You're not sure of the purpose, right? So, you know, like your eating is just careless. You're not eating with a purpose. I know that for me, that was the struggle. Intuitively, we know that eating, you know, chicken and vegetables and rice and sweet potatoes is going to make us feel better. But, you know, why do we end up like getting cookies every single night? We know it's bad for us. We go to the doctor tells us, oh, you know, you should probably eat less candy. Okay, great, but how do I do that? Right? It's because, especially as women, I feel like the more stress we have in our lives, what ends up happening? We give to our kids, we give to our husbands, wives, in our careers, right? Like we give to everybody, right? And we need to release, right? So like, unless we're in tune and we have those daily practices, what ends up happening? We end up taking it out on something, be it alcohol, be it food, be it binge shopping, whatever. Okay, so Sarah, how is Sarah of 210 pounds? It's crazy to say that. You're 210 pounds. Like, it's amazing. How is Sarah of back then different from today's Sarah?
I think Sarah back then didn't know how to set boundaries.
Oof.
Yeah, not at all. Or didn't know what boundaries to set. Well, I didn't know how to, or I didn't know what boundaries to set. And then when I tried to, they weren't, you know, then I would be annoyed. I'd, you know, get into a negative place when things aren't in alignment, you know, from what I knew I needed. Like, so that's like the major thing. I mean,
give me an example of a boundary.
Like a boundary would be, I don't want to have cake every night, so don't bring it in the house. You know.
Okay.
Thanks, Jerry. That would be a boundary. You know, just, I mean, I think I think a lot about, like, I can think of in my home, I can think a lot of in my job. I think that, you know, I didn't like respect myself, so I let people walk all over me. Even though I was 210 pounds, I still felt like very small. I think I've said this before, but, you know, I would hide behind my children. Like if I went to a social event, I would like stick to them, you know, and like pretend like I was like helping them do whatever they needed to do. I wasn't there for my own purposes or my own growth. I think I was very limited in what I thought I needed, and I was limited in thinking that I would eventually reach a finish line. Like, yes, I'm going through a hard time now, but after my kids are a certain age, or after I finish this program for work, like things will be better. And I had this like finite type mindset of like, it'll like eventually like I'll reach the flag and I'll be done. And I don't think that way now at all. You know, so.
This is so good. And from a female empowerment, okay, standpoint, this is why taking care of yourself has to be an obligation for each and every one of you. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, people are going to fucking walk all over you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
When you have a certain body that speaks for itself, it shows immediately, right, that you demand respect. Unfortunately, we live in a society where you have to demand respect. And as being a female, right, forget the fact that, you know, you could be oppressed for other reasons, whether you're a Latina or you're Black or you're gay, don't matter, right? for as long as you're just a female, you're already like being oppressed, whether you like it or not, right? And that's why this is so important, because when you walk into a room, when Sarah walks into a room, like you can tell that this bitch demands respect, right? Like it's not like, oh, she looks like an easy target, like I'm a walk all over her, right? Versus if you're overweight, right, it tells somebody that you're an easy target, right? That you let things slide by. And this is why it's so important. And that's why we always say in our program, how you do anything is how you do everything. When you set a boundary with regards to, you know what, like today I'm choosing not to have this cookie, Amanda. Like I understand that you're great at, you know, baking cookies. I choose not to, right? Like over time you demand respect, right? But like when you say yes to everything, whether it's a cookie, chances are that if your boss asks you, hey, can you now stay in the office from 5 to 6 p.m.? What are you going to say? Probably yes, right? When your sister asks you to do her a favor and your weekend is already jam-packed, are you more likely to say yes or no? You're going to say yes, right? So like this is about you learning to make yourself a top priority and not making yourself an easy target, which I feel like as a woman, each and every one of us has to master that. And I'm speaking that from my own personal experience, because I know that I was sexually abused at a young age, and I know that right now I don't look like an easy target. My body is my defense mechanism. It's like you want to do shit to somebody, I mean, the next girl is probably a better target for you, not me, right? But like in so many aspects, whether it's your job, whether it's your kids, whether it's, you know, your husband, your wife, whatever, right? Making yourself a priority is something that each and every one of you guys should practice. Okay, so now you're a coach in the Inner Circle program, right? But before that, you know, you were a client, and it was amazing. It was a beautiful relationship, and I love how it has evolved. But, you know, at the beginning, you were very hesitant to sign up initially. So for one, I would love to know, this is a question that I don't think I've ever asked you before. Why were you hesitant to sign up? And how was your experience in the Inner Circle program been different from any other program that you've done before?
I think I was scared of, I knew it was going to be emotional for it to work. And I was just thinking, I don't want to deal with any of that. Actually, when I signed up, I was like thinking, well, I'll just learn a couple tricks and then I'll move on. Like, I just need a couple tricks to get me through this next thing I'm going, this next commitment I made. And that's what I was thinking. So my experience was, I mean, I was given all these resources to kind of become more aware of my practices when it came to nutrition. And I really, you know, I just told myself, you're going to make the commitment. And I dove in, you know, every day I kept a food journal where I would track like what I ate, not like counting calories or like weighing food, because that doesn't work. You know, I dove in and I had like a one-on-one accountability. You know, with Sarit, you know, I checked in with you every day. I was also part of like a larger community. And when I joined, it was also the start of the coronavirus, when everything was like shutting down. And socially, I was extremely limited. And I remember thinking like, I'm not seeing anyone I know in real life, but I had this like community that I was part of. And, you know, I've gotten to know like, you know, everyone in the Inner Circle, and everyone's so supportive and kind. And, you know, we have like a separate Facebook group, and, you know, it's nice to have a place that I can go, like I can take out my phone and look on there, and there's always a positive messaging being shared on that from, you know, the just different members. That experience was like completely different as opposed to, even though I was on a schedule and going to a gym like very regularly, I didn't really have like all the information. I was kind of just trying to like piece it together through, you know, stuff I would read online or stuff like other gym mates would share with me. And I had just like really like this mentality like of, you know, if I'm going to be lifting really heavy, I need to like eat a lot of food because mass moves mass. And like at some point in my journey that didn't like benefit me. Like I lost all this weight and then I started coming back up because I wasn't being intentional with the way I was eating at all. Like I was kind of just like doing, like I was just doing everything. Even when we talk about boundaries, even at the gym, I wasn't having boundaries yet because, you know, I mean, I was in a CrossFit gym. I love that community, right? And, you know, someone was always like, well, I'm going to do this one workout. Do you want to do it with me? Even though like I knew if you do like 30 more minutes of working out, you're going to be exhausted. Like I would still do it. You know, I would just like beat my body up. Like if that's because I thought that's how I was going to get better, or I needed to prove myself. And I actually had like the opposite effect, you know, like my body composition like went up because I wasn't feeding my body the correct way. So yeah.
I love it. You guys should write the word down, community.
Yeah.
For one, each and every one of y'all should be a part of a community. Of course, that's why we have the public Erin and Sarit page, right? For two, if you really want to create a change, you have to reach up to a community that will not just support you, but push you to get to your goals. Because otherwise, your community is going to bring you down. Okay, change is always happening. And if it's not happening, like it's evident that you're going up, slowly you're going down. Okay, community is everything. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, well, you know, as you were talking about, you know, you signing up for the inner circle because, you know, you had another venture that, you know, you committed to within like a month of joining the program initially. Right. You had planned to have a tummy tuck surgery.
I did.
Because you wanted to get rid of your loose skin. So now recently you had it. So please talk to us about your journey with regards to body love and also your intention for having that surgery.
Okay, so I mean, I think growing up, I saw my mother being like overweight, and I used to look at her and think, and like she had like a stomach, you know, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm never gonna look like that. So I always had it in my mind as a young child that like growing up that, well, if I ever get to that point or after I have kids, I'm just gonna get a tummy tuck and everything will be solved, right? So I kind of had in my mind that that's what I would do, and I didn't have any knowledge of what a tummy tuck surgery they actually do for it. So I went in for a consultation. I had reached, I guess you could call it like my goal weight or whatever, and I went in for a consultation. This was a few years ago now, and they described to me what the surgery was, and I was like so like surprised at how involved it is. When they do that surgery, it's not just that they like move the loose skin, they actually take your abdominal muscles, and if you're a mother, they're probably apart a little bit, and they sew them back together. So you end up being like, it's like you become like a human corset. And because of that, you have to take like a significant amount of time as rest or recovery. Now, when I went for that surgery, I was in a place of like using exercise as a major way to like control, you know, my body, and also to control like my value as a person. I knew if I could like go in and hit a hard workout and sweat really hard and lift heavy, that was like how I identified with. And it like shook me that they was like, oh no, you're not, like for 5 months, you can't pick up anything. And I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to get this done because like I can't take 5 months away from the gym. Like mentally, I know I'm never going to be able to handle that. Also in this surgery, I still, even though I was like losing weight or had lost a lot of weight, I still hadn't like a lot of the tech I was using, the strategies I used, first of all, I had Invisalign, so I wasn't snacking at all. That's like a retainer you wear in your mouth. So like throughout the day, I wasn't snacking, and I was using like a calorie counting app to count my calories. And I was eating a lot of processed food because when you use those apps, it's easier to count the calories on the app. So I was eating a lot of like yogurt that was like, you know, like a Yoplait yogurt or like a protein bar, or like sometimes I would have vegetables, those were easier to count, or like a hard-boiled egg. And that's how I lost a lot of the weight. So I went into the surgery and I wasn't really like confident or aware of my eating. And I wasn't really like, I was still like, I think when you've always thought poorly about your body, even when you lose the weight, you still are in that mindset and you're still looking for people to say things or notice you. Like you're still in that competitive or comparative type place. And I went to the appointment, and, you know, the surgeon said to me, I mean, it like brought tears to my eyes. He said, "Oh, you look great. You won't need any liposuction." Right? Now, I know this is like the plastic community is, you know, it's kind of foreign to me, like, because there are all these like extra procedures out there. And he called, and the doctor, he also called me thin. And I remember thinking like nobody had ever called me that before, or like that was a really big thing to hear. And it like messed with my mind because I wasn't ready for it, because I had achieved something like body wise that like mentally I just wasn't prepared for, you know, because I think I lost the weight like rather quickly. So I remember like I left that first consultation, I was like really nervous about, well, this isn't something I can do because I can't take 5 months off of, you know, doing any activity because I'm going to balloon back up. And then also like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about his comment like, oh, you're thin now, so you should be able to do X, Y, and Z. I also was like, just didn't know how to schedule myself the right way. So I actually left that consultation and I went right to the gym to do a workout. And we were doing a movement that night that was this movement called toes to bar. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's you have to hold onto the bar and then you have to take your feet and they have to touch the bar. But it's considered a body weight movement because you're holding yourself up. And I have a struggle with body weight movements because I feel like I weigh a lot. And for me, like when I look around, I say, this is so much harder for me than everyone else because I have to lift more because I'm pulling my own body around. And I was like all messed up, like I couldn't do it. And then like I kind of like went in this like down place because of it, even though I'd received a compliment, like not needing the liposuction and being called thin by like a doctor. I was in a down place. I went back in for like a second consultation a couple months later with the same doctor, and then all of a sudden he was like, oh, well, we would have to do a little bit of lipo here, like around I guess my love handle area. And that just was like, what, you know, like I could tell I was like putting the weight back on because I didn't hear that comment before.
That was in March? That
was in March. So that went from like December to March, like December and then March. And then, well, this was like a whole year before. And then, so then I kind of like let go of the idea altogether. I said, Sarah, it's not something you need. And I discovered like a year later that I had like what's called an umbilical hernia, and I had like my belly button was sticking out, and I had diastasis recti, which is like where your abs are becoming further and further apart. So I decided at that point that the surgery would become like medical. And I was like terrified because I knew that I was going to have to take 5 months off of exercising. And well, what am I going to do if I don't have good nutrition habits? I know that's all I'm going to have to lie on is my nutrition. So you asked me why it took me so long to sign up. No, you asked me about my tummy tuck. So, you know, I was in a place, even though I had made a commitment to get the tummy tuck surgery, and this was like in January, February, March, January, like around January, where I wasn't confident with my choices, and I was like really worried that I was going to hate the results. Like I was paying, I mean, I paid a lot of money to get this done, and it was like, it's a big investment. Like, you know, I've had to like pull resources around, like my sister had to come help, like I have 2 small kids, so somebody had to care for them. And I didn't want it to be wasted. So, you know, I had to get to a place, I didn't realize where I needed to get to because I didn't get to it until after I started like the one-on-one with the Inner Circle program. I had to get to a place where my body and what it looked like didn't even matter. Like I had to get in a place where I was like truly indifferent or truly like just didn't care whether or not I got it done. And if you were to ask me like the week before the surgery was 4 weeks ago now. If you were to ask me like the week before, I was like, I guess I'm doing it because I signed up, but I could not do it too, because I had like found a way to just really accept who I was and accept my body. And I think you need to get to that place, because once you get the surgery, like it was 4 weeks ago. So I'm, for like a good 3 weeks, I was just in pain, and I was feeling like the only thing I could control was my food. Right. And can you imagine if like I wasn't in a place where I had like a good relationship with food? And also, I mean, when they do the surgery, you end up like you have a scar and it's not attractive. It's not, I mean, it's a scar that's healing, and, like I like certainly had days or moments where I was like, this is really ugly. I shouldn't have done it. And, if I didn't have strong habits, I would have used the past 32 days to like just like sabotage myself with food. I know I would have done it. And then I would be even less happy with the results. I mean, I'm still like excited that I did it. I'm happy that it's done. I'm like so looking forward to what the next chapter of my life looks like. But I know like I'm gonna have a 6-pack. I know that, right? But I know like I have to wait to get those things. Like I know that as much as like I want my body to look a certain way, like right now I need to focus on healing.
But you're going to have a 6-pack because you've done internally everything that you had to do. And now you just, you got rid of the loose skin, which was a byproduct of all of the choices from way back when.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Go ahead.
So I think it's safe to assume that a surgical procedure is not a solution if you are not in a place where, your body, you've already like changed your body internally and you are, at peace and in love with it, correct?
Yes.
And that I think is one of the biggest misconceptions that like we have in the weight loss industry. And do you mind me asking how much does a surgery like that cost?
Well, I had more than that done. I also had a breast lift done because I wanted it. So for what's considered like a mommy makeover, which is like a popular surgery, which is the tummy tuck and the breast lift, it's usually between $10,000 and $15,000.
It's fucking crazy, you guys.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's a commitment that people make.
Yeah, and it's not even a solution.
But it's not a solution, because even with it done, I can still look at my body and say, these are things that I want to work on,
Right.
even though,
right.
And, there's no finish line.
Right. 100%. Oh man, this is so powerful. I hope some people who are like, they've gained a shit ton of weight and, who are like, I want to get a liposuction because it's going to help me get rid of all this weight really quickly. I hope they will watch the recording of this and it will really hit home that, like trying to get external change without focusing on internal change is always going to lead to long-term pain. 100%. Long-term pain, frustration, it's not gonna like provide you with a solution to the answer or anything. You have to go out of your way and create the internal change, and that's how you get the sustainable results that you're looking for. Sarah did it because she has already she achieved the results that she was looking for, but because of her previous past choices, she had a lot of loose skin. So she's like, I deserve this. Right? But I feel like so many people go into it the wrong reason, because people are fucking impatient and it drives me nuts. But it's like, if you're impatient, you get this thing done, like it's like winning the lottery. right? If you didn't earn becoming a multimillionaire and you win the lottery, like you're going to lose it all very quickly. And that's like the saddest thing ever, because that's like $15,000. So thank you for, you know, just like speaking the truth with regards to that, because I mean, again, I did not have a surgery, but I mean, that's a great like insight that we're getting here. Okay, so I have a couple more questions for you. You know, Erin and I always talk about, you know, the power of the relationship that you have with your food. And, you know, we believe that your relationship with food impacts every other relationship in your life. So if you can walk us through your journey with food and how, you know, you changing your relationship with food by becoming aware of that, how did that change the relationships in your life?
Man. Well, you know, I think when I had a poor relationship, well, I know when I had a poor relationship with food, I could be like stressed out if I had to go to a social event where there would be food around, or, you know, or I would, you know, if I went to a barbecue and I was just like, well, I'm going to have whatever I want. I'm going to drink whatever beer I want, whatever wine I want. And then like the next day I'd feel like bad about myself. Like it affected my relationship with myself, because then I was always like in this like depressed place. You know, I think that, you know, fixing my relationship with food, you know, it's just helped me make sure that the people that I'm around are like in better alignment with what I need, you know. Like I remember meeting a friend for the first time, and, you know, he had said, well, do you want to get dessert? And I said, well, I could, but I won't. If I get dessert, I'm not going to like how I feel tomorrow. And it's more just like giving me that opportunity to like speak for yourself and like speak up, you know, and be like, no, this is who I am. This is what's important to me. Is important. So, you know, I think I know that like when I think about that, I can think also about like my relationship with my kids, because that's like the most important relationship in my life. You know, I know I show up better, so like I'm a better mom to them. I know that like I've gained a lot more confidence in myself with food. I mean, I work with high school age students. I can see myself showing up in a way to help them. I mean, I know like I am so much more like engaged with them because I'm like in a more confident version of myself, you know. And like the teacher I was like these past 2 years or last year, it was not the same teacher that I was like 3 or 4 years ago, you know. And the kids, my students see it, you know. And I'm actually like, I'm grieving this loss right now because I'm probably not going to be able to see my students in person for a long time this year. And like, you know, you know, I see it, like you know, I'm like goofier with them. I'm always like trying to hype them up. And like, those weren't things that I did before. You know, I wasn't so focused on like, they have this huge slogan in education. It's like connection before content. And like, I used to be so focused on like, this is what my job is. And now I know that like, as a teacher, as I'm working with these kids, like I'm more focused on the connection I have with them. And I think that's so powerful.
Man, that's powerful. Adding more value to others.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions, and that's that's for all the moms out there, right? Because I'm not a mom yet, so honestly, like, who am I to talk about it, right? But something that I see way too often is that women block themselves from achieving success by limiting themselves, by saying, oh, because I'm a mom, I can't do this, or my life is blah because I'm a mom, and it drives me fucking nuts. And in my opinion, I'm like, every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, there she goes again, blocking herself because she has this title. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like women just blocking themselves because they have a privilege that they're completely like abusing?
Yes. So I think a lot of people think achieving success means being overwhelmed. are taking on an overwhelming amount of work, and they're not the same thing, right? So I think if you want to achieve success, you need to be finding something that is important for you creatively to develop within yourself, right? And it doesn't have to take a lot of time, but I think you need to be working towards something that is like that you feel connected to. And a lot of times I think moms just hide behind this like idea that, well, I'm a mom and I have to spend so much time focusing on my child, and it's easy to just forget themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That happening a lot.
100%. I love it. Okay, from your own personal experience, why do you think that women struggle with their bodies, weight, and food?
I think we have a history that nobody talks about. I think there's a lot of social standards, that we try to fit. I think there's a lot of, messaging out there that it should be easy to make drastic changes, and it's not. I think as a culture, we are getting better at talking about things that are mentally difficult for us, but that's we're getting better at that. We're just starting to talk about mental health and all those things, because those are all contributing factors to being overweight.
100%. It's a manifestation of just hiding the pain and being impatient and not taking ownership and instant gratification. It's a lot of mindset. Okay, so we see a lot of women, and women are, all around the world. It doesn't matter what country you live in, like what is your social status, whatever it is, right? Like we see this gap of women being unfulfilled with their body, right? So what would you say should be the first steps that a woman should take if she's unfulfilled with her body to start getting into a direction where she's leading towards a body that she's more fulfilled and happy and confident in?
First steps?
Yes.
I think you have to speak up and say, I'm unhappy about this. Find something, just say it, and find a place where you can say, I'm not happy with the way I look, and a space that you feel like supported and you feel like you're not going to be judged for saying that, and we have such an opportunity now because we have technology that can keep everyone connected. Like the people that motivate you don't need to be people that you see in everyday life. So that's the first step. Speak
up. I love it. Yep. That leads to commitment. I love it. Okay, so this question is for all the active gym rats out there, who go to the gym for hours on end. They're great with workouts, but for some reason they're unfulfilled with their body. What do you think is more important, working out more or being in tune with your body and your nutrition?
I think, when you say working out more, that's not, if you just work out and you don't feel your body the right way, you're not going to see results, so nutrition is defined as providing your body with the recovery, the food it needs to recover and grow. So if your nutrition isn't right, then you're never going to achieve your goals for your workouts. So if you're not, you need to put yourself in a place where you're getting better information.
I love it.
Act on. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Speak up. Be intentional.
Yes.
With every single decision that you make, and reach up to a community that will support you and will make you better. 100%. Okay, if you could give any advice to a woman, especially a mom, okay, who has a lot on her plate and who's seeking change, what would you recommend that she does?
I think you have to start by believing you can do it, and you have to start, because I mean, I see this all the time, you know? Start by believing you can do it. Start by believing it's worth it. Start by knowing that even if this is something that's going to be hard because it goes against the patterns you have established in your family, you can do it and it'll be worth it in the end. You know, it starts with that mindset, you know, and it starts with just figuring out what that first step is going to be for you. You know, I would reach out to a community that is like going to support that. I wouldn't try to, I want to speak in the positive here. I would focus on what are the things you can control in small bites, like in small increments, one step at a time. I hear a lot of people, I was just talking to a girlfriend yesterday or the day before, and, you know, she was frustrated and she was telling me that, you know, the things she wanted to change, first it was work, then it was at home, and then it was with her family. And if you try to like transform everything all at once, it's going to backfire because it's not going to work. You're going to get yourself to an uncomfortable place too fast and you won't be able to handle it. So I would say, you know, you have to trust that if you have to trust it's something that you deserve, okay, something that you need, and it's something that's worth waiting for, you know? It's just like if you imagine like one day working really hard towards achieving like a goal with your career or achieving a goal, like a relationship goal. And you'll say like, if it's worth having, it's worth waiting for, right? When you picture your perfect life, like if it takes baby steps to get there, that's okay, you know, because when you get there, it'll be worth it.
I love it. If it's something that you want, it's worth waiting for. 100%. On that note, you guys, I wish you all an incredible weekend. Sarah, you dropped wisdom all over the place here. Wasn't she amazing? You guys, give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this, if you've gained some value.
It was like diarrhea wisdom. Like in
Thank you, Erin.
the best way, like, you know, when it comes out, it's just like wisdom,
Amen.
knowledge.
Thank you.
An explosion of inspiration.
You guys are amazing and you deserve it all. And I hope that you demand, you know, success. Demand it, right? In society, people will want to see you fail, but it's up to you to make that decision to thrive. So I hope that you choose to thrive this weekend. You guys have an incredible weekend, and we will see you all on Monday at 6:30. Sarah, thank you so much for your time. And
yes, thank you.
And for your vulnerability today. If you're new to this conversation, then I hope that you'll stick around this community, because that's what we're here for, to have the hard conversations that nobody feels comfortable talking about, but however are the conversations that, you know, cultivate strength and positive change. You guys, we love you all very, very much. Have yourselves an amazing weekend.
And it's so good to see all of your faces too.
Yes,
on
it
the
is.
live, we don't get to see all your faces, so that's amazing.
Right.
And I see all you inner circle peeps in here too.
Yeah.
And all the livers from the Erin and Sarit page when we only see your names. Like
awesome.
Nikaya, what's up, girl?
Kayla Robinson.
So good.
But rumor has it that Kayla Robinson is
She's on the train.
She's on the train to the inner circle. Happiest circle on earth. I love it. Congratulations. Okay, you guys. Well, on that note, have yourselves an amazing weekend. Sarah, again, thank you so much for your time and for your vulnerability this morning. And we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.